Okay. Welcome all. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're very pleased to see this turnout. Um, so, uh, this is a India Labour Solidarity webinar. We are a collective, UK-based anti-caste collective, and we advocate for solidarities across global labor movements by focusing on worker struggles in India and UK, and we also extend our solidarity to people who resist colonialism, militarization, and migrant workers. Today's webinar, as you know, is about recent events. As we know, a coordinated campaign targeting Bengali speaking migrant workers, especially from states like Delhi, Maharashtra, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, Gujarat, and Madhya Pradesh, has been taking place. Um, the police, under the guise of very racist agendas, are such as identifying illegal Bangladeshis, are inflicting severe trauma and violating constitutional rights. As far as we know, more than 2,000 people have been forced across the Indo-Bangladesh border as an aftermath of this. And the people affected are mostly workers, domestic workers, daily wage workers, and whatnot. So, our particular webinar today will be focused on Delhi and then later across the nation. And I will hand over to Tanvi to introduce the union joining us today.
Hi. So today we're going to be speaking. We've got the Sangrami Gharelu Kamgar Union from Delhi, who have been working in the Jai Hind Basti, which across many other bastis as well. But specifically, we have been engaging with them, focusing on their work in Jai Hind Basti in South Delhi. So back in November, a couple of us from ILS had visited the union and visited the Basti and joined them on their campaigns day. We were thoroughly inspired and impressed by the work happening there. They've been doing incredible work to build strength and consciousness amongst the women domestic workers across Delhi. We learned about the challenges they faced organizing workers outside of their workplaces and in their homes and neighborhoods. So this really meant like engaging with issues that people were affected by outside of their workplace, which then included housing challenges. Hence, then we spoke about the evictions they are facing in the colony. So I'll get Shreya and Aisha Bibi will speak about this in a minute in a bit more detail. But yes, I wanted to just speak about how impressed we were and how amazed we were by the work. We spent the day meeting several of the residents and union workers and organizers and the children who were very, very playful and made sure to drag us around everywhere and make us sing all the songs that they wanted and tell us that we didn't know any jokes. So we were very boring to them. And we thought it would still be a really good opportunity to bring people together to speak about to have Aisha Bibi from the Basti and from the union speak about the experience of being in the involved in the union's work. And yes, so I'm gonna pass over to Aisha Bibi now. She'll speak about her experience, and then we will move on to we'll have Shreya from the Sangrami Gharelu Kamgar Union, who will speak about the union's work and give us kind of rundowns of what the cases, where the cases are, and what's happening in the Basti. Then we will have Akash Bhattacharya from the AICCTU, the All India Council of Trade Unions, I think. All India Central Committee of Trade Unions, sorry, I had that written down, I messed up, who will kind of zoom out and we will speak about the kind of broader issues facing migrant workers and the detention and verification drives. So yes, Shreya, are we okay to?
I'll just pass this microphone to Aishadi because probably the other one is not working. Right.
Yeah. If you also want to give any intro or anything, please feel free. If you want to say anything before Aisha Bibi.
Yeah, I mean, I'll hand over the mic to Aishadi. Aisha Khatun has been part of the Sangrami Gharelu Kamgar Union from its very inception she's been part of the union now almost for 4 years. She's also the treasurer of the union and a central council committee member. Aisha Di also has been a very, I mean, she's been a resident of Jai Hind Basti for now almost 20 to 23 years. She's been part of the legal cases from very long. The recent cases that we have filed in the High Court, which saying that until and unless the land case is being settled at the lower courts, as a civic amenity, electricity should be given to the Basti. She's also one of the four petitioners to that case also. And generally have been part of the Basti and its struggles for a very long time. So I'll hand it over to Aisha. हेलो बोलो।
हेलो।
हेलो आयशा जी, हमें आवाज आ रही है, शुरू करें।
हाँ, नमस्ते।
नमस्ते।
बोला शुरू करो।
बोलो। नमस्ते, मेरा नाम आयशा है और मैं बंगाली बस्ती से हूँ। सब लोग आ गए ना?
सब हो गया।
तो हम लोग को यहाँ 25 साल से हम लोग रहते हैं यहाँ पे। 25 साल से रहते हैं तो जिस जगह में हम लोग रहते हैं वहाँ तो शुरू से मतलब पहले तो कढ़ाई पे चलते थे। फिर उसकी बाद जो है हम लोग वहाँ जल गया 2-3 बार। 2-3 बार जलने की बाद जो है 2 बार जल गया। उसके बाद हम लोग फिर से वहाँ ठेकेदार लोगों ने घर बनाया। फिर हम लोग रहने लग गए। उसके बाद एक बार ऐसे भयंकर आग लग गई कि हम लोग का वहाँ कुछ नहीं बचा, कि बच्चे के कपड़े तक भी मतलब बर्तन तक गिलास तक कुछ नहीं बचा। तो तब सरकार ने हमें बोला कि ये जगह जो है किसी का नहीं है, आप किसी को किराए मत दो। ये जगह में आप लोग घर बनाओ, सरकार का जमीन है, आप लोग यहाँ घर बना के आराम से रहें। जब सरकार की जरूरत होगा तब सरकार आप लोग को यहाँ से कहीं और शिफ्ट कर देंगे और आपको यहाँ से तब बोलेंगे हटने के लिए। लेकिन हम लोग को हो गई कम से कम तो वहाँ 2014 की बात है। 2014 में जल गई थी, अब तो 2000 मतलब 26 चल रहा है। तो इतना दिन बाद मतलब वे 2 साल की करीब हो गया, अचानक कह रहा है कि हम लोग को वहां से हटना है। तो हम वहां से हट के अब जाएंगे कहाँ, कि वहां से अचानक बोलेंगे हटना है तो सरकार तो पहले से बोलेंगे ना कि हम लोग को वहां से हटना है। तो सरकार ने तो ये कई बात बोला नहीं कि हम लोग को हटना है, उन्होंने तो खुद हमको रहने के लिए इजाजत दिया है कि आप लोग यहाँ रह सकती हो। और वहाँ इतना दिन रहने के बाद भी मतलब हम लोग को पानी बिजली बहुत चीजों का दिक्कत होते हैं। फिर भी मतलब हम लोग वहां रहते थे, मतलब पुलिस वाले मतलब डीडीओ वाले मतलब सब लोग थोड़ा तंग तो करते हैं वहाँ। उसके बावजूद भी हम लोग वहां रहते हैं। अब तो समझ लो कि बिजली भी काट के ले गई। 7 6 7 7 8 महीना हो गई। उसमें गर्मियों में बच्चे बीमार पड़ गई, ना तो बच्चे ढंग से पेपर दे पाई। और जब पढ़ेगी नहीं बच्चे तो पेपर कहाँ से देंगे। और स्कूल में जाते हैं तो टीचर आधे मारते हैं, मतलब उनको डांटते हैं, कहता है तुम लोग का माँ बाप कुछ नहीं बोलते, तुम लोग पढ़ाई नहीं करती हो, ये सब बोलते हैं। लेकिन असली बात तो ये हम लोग का यहाँ बिजली नहीं है, तो जब हम खुद नहीं बैठ पाते तो बच्चों को क्या पढ़ाएंगे। तो इसलिए जो बच्चे पढ़ नहीं पा रहे तो वहां जाके टीचर की सुनना पड़ता है। यहाँ गर्मी में रह रह के बच्चे ना खाना खा पाते हैं और ना तो सो पाते हैं घर में। और बिना सोए हुए बच्चे क्या पढ़ाई करेंगे, है ना, कि उनको थकान हो जाते हैं। और ऐसा नहीं है कि हम लोग सरकार से ये बोले कि जब हम लोग को यहाँ रहने के लिए दिया तो हमें बिजली भी दो और पानी भी दो। बिना बिजली पानी के तो इंसान नहीं रह सकते हैं ना। और हम लोग को बिजली उतना तो कि हम लोग वहाँ मतलब उनको हम लोग के नाम पे अगर मीटर दे देंगे तो हम मीटर की भरोसे में पैसे देख के हम उनको पेमेंट कर सके। और सरकार जब हमें कहेगा कि आप लोग को यहाँ नहीं रहना है, तो वो भी तो, अब तो हम लोग 25 साल से है, तो कम से कम हम भी इस दिल्ली की एक मतलब मेंबर हो गई ना, हम दिल्ली वाला ही हो गई है। क्योंकि हमारा तो 25 साल निकल गया। अब हम गांव जाएंगे, तो अब इस उम्र में क्या गांव जाएंगे? 25 साल मतलब हम लोग का आधे से ज्यादा जिंदगी तो हमने यही जी लिया। तो हम तो राजधानी के ही हो गई ना सब। तो इसलिए हम सोचते हैं कि अब ये जो है राजधानी हमारा अपना हो गई है, तो हमारा तो गांव से कोई मतलब ही नहीं रही। तो इतना दिन रहने की बात आप बोल रही है कि नहीं ये हम लोग ने कि अब बांग्लादेशी है, जबकि हम लोग के पास हर चीजों का प्रूफ है। बाप दादा, माँ, नाना नानी, जमीन, सब चीजों का प्रूफ है। उसके बाद भी जो है हम लोग बांग्लादेशी है। हमें ऐसे ऐसे बातें बोला जाता है कि हम लोग ने कि यहाँ गंदगी है, हम यहाँ गंदे करते हैं, यहाँ गंदे रहते हैं। मतलब मतलब ऐसे ऐसे बातें बोलता है कि जो मतलब नहीं बोलना चाहिए। तो ये सब जो हम लोग जो ये जो घर की काम करते हैं हम लोग, जैसे लोगों के घर में बर्तन वगैरह, कपड़े, तो ये सब तो उनकी हम लोग करते, तो इसका मतलब थोड़ी कि हम गंदे हो गए। अगर ये हम काम ना करेंगे इनकी घर में, तो इनका घर कैसे चलेगा? जैसे हम लोग का भाई ये कबाड़ी काम करते हैं, तो वो लोग उनकी घर से कबाड़ी लाते हैं। तो कबाड़ी में जो गंदगी कौन फैलाता है? मैडम लोग ही तो फैलाते हैं। तो वो लोग फैलाते हैं, उसकी बात हम लोग जो उठाते हैं, तो हम कैसे गंदे हो गए? फैलाने के काम तो उन्होंने किया, हम तो साफ सफाई किया, तो हम कहाँ से गंदे हो गए? इस तरीके से भी बोल रहा है कि इनको हटा दो, ये लोग बांग्लादेश से आई हुई है, इनको हटा दो, ये गंदा काम करता है। अगर हम इस राजधानी से अगर चले गए, तो क्या ये बड़े बड़े लोग जो है, बड़े बड़े ऑफिसों में, फैक्ट्री में जो काम करते, क्या वो हमारे जगह में कबाड़ी गंदगी उठाएंगे? कपड़े बर्तन करेंगे किसी के घर में? तो जब उन्हीं के घर का काम है, तो हम कैसे गंदे हो सकते हैं? है ना? तो ये तो कभी कोई सवाल ही नहीं उठता है कि हम लोग गंदे हैं वहां। हम तो उनकी काम करते, तो राजधानी में मतलब हम लोग ये उनकी परिवार जैसी हो गई है। हम सफाई करके आते तब ना वो लोग साफ से खाते पीते, साफ कपड़ा पहनते। नहीं तो वो लोग क्या इतना कर पाएंगे? जितना हम लोग उनके घर को संभालते हैं, उतना वो लोग कर पाएंगे? नहीं कर पाएंगे। तो हमारा ये मुद्दा है कि हम लोग इतना दिन रहने की बाद भी आज जो हम लोग जिस बस्ती में रह रहे हैं, वहाँ हमें पानी का दिक्कत है, बिजली की दिक्कत है, बच्चों को हम पढ़ा नहीं पा रहे हैं। तो ये सब दिक्कतें जो हम लोग को आ रहे हैं, तो यही चाहते हैं कि हम लोग, अब देखो मेरे नाम पे भी केस चल रहे हैं। बिजली के नाम पे मेरे नाम से 4 लोगों के नाम पे जो कोर्ट में हमने केस किया है। एक तो शुरू से हमारा केस चल रहा है, उसके बाद भी जो बिजली काट के ले गई, जो बिजली काटने की बात, हम लोग का यहाँ गर्मी में रहने का बहुत दिक्कत हो गई, तब हमने श्रेया दीदी से, हालांकि हम खुद आगे बढ़ के श्रेया दीदी से बोले कि हमारे लिए कुछ करे हो। क्योंकि हमें भी तो मतलब यहाँ रहना है, तो हमें भी अपनी अधिकार तो चाहिए ना। हमें भी तो रहने के लिए, तो हमें भी तो कुछ पानी बिजली के बंदोबस्त करने पड़ेगा। अब हम कहाँ जाएंगे 25 साल निकालने की बात? तो ये जो है सुनवाई नहीं हो रही। इतना दिन से हम लोग बोल रहे हैं हमारा बच्चे की दिक्कत हो रही है पढ़ने लिखने के, तो अब हमें बिजली दो। अगर बाद में आप लोग को यहाँ से हटाना भी है, अब वो लोग बोल रहे हैं नहीं हम तुम्हारा नाम पे बिजली इसलिए नहीं देंगे क्योंकि तुम्हारा वहाँ केस चल रहा है। अब जो जाट लोग केस चला रहा है, अगर सरकार को हमें ये जमीन नहीं देना है, तो सरकार पहले क्यों दिया हम लोग को रहने के लिए? अब जब सरकार हमें रहने के लिए दिया है, तो हमें बिजली पानी का भी अधिकार है हम लोग। अब जाट लोग कह रहे हैं उनकी जमीन है, उन्होंने केस दर्ज कर दी कि नहीं ये जमीन हमारा है। तो ये जब केस सर, सरकार सरकार ने हमें जमीन दिया है, केस दर्ज जाट लोग ने किया, तो इस
हम्म,
तरफ से तो सरकार जब हमें परमिशन दिया हम रह रहे, तो उसके लिए तो केस सरकार को लड़ना पड़ेगा ना हमारे लिए, कि हमने दिया उनको रहने के लिए। लेकिन उसके लिए भी हम लोग जो कोर्ट तक जा रहे हैं, हम लोग सोच रहे हैं कि हमारा क्या होगा, हम कोर्ट तक बात को लेके जा रहे हैं, लेकिन हमारा नाम पे कोई सुनवाई नहीं है। हमारा यही कहने का मतलब है कि हमारा बच्चे उच्चे और सुनवाई किया जाए, हमें बिजली दिया जाए। अगर सरकार को लगेगा कि नहीं हमें नहीं रखना है यहाँ, तो हमारा बंदोबस्त और कहीं कर देगा, लेकिन बिजली जो हमें देगा उसकी पैसे तो वो मीटर देख के हमसे लेगा। हम तो ये नहीं कह रहे कि हमें वो फ्री में बिजली दे दे, नहीं। अन्ना तो हम उनकी चाहते हैं कि वो हमें कमा मतलब पैसे दे। हम तो खुद ही मेहनत करके खा रहे हैं ना। हम लोग को सिर्फ रहने का अधिकार चाहिए। मेहनत तो हम खुद करते हैं। फिर हमें सरकार से यही दबा है कि हमें सिर्फ रहने का अधिकार चाहिए और हमें कुछ नहीं चाहिए। और रहने के लिए, इंसान को जीने के लिए बिजली पानी तो जरूरी है,
जी बिल्कुल।
कहीं भी रहो।
एक बार गौरी आप ट्रांसलेट करोगे थोड़ा सा, सो दैट वी गेट थोड़ा सा।
आवाज आ रहा है ना दीदी?
हाँ जी आ रहा है बिल्कुल।
वो आप जो बोल रहे हैं वो इंग्लिश में भी गौरी जी थोड़ा बोल दे, तो बाकी के सब लोग भी समझ जाए आपकी बात। तो ऐसे हम थोड़े थोड़े, आप थोड़ा सा बोलो, फिर गौरी जी इंग्लिश में बोल देंगी, फिर आप थोड़ा सा, तो इस तरह सब समझ सकेंगे आपकी बात।
Okay, I hope I'm audible.
यस।
So I just written down what you said. If I miss anything, feel free to interject. But yeah, she said, my name is Aisha. I'm from the Bengali Basti or slum, and we've been living here for 25 years. We used to stay on rent earlier in the early days, but then the slum burnt down a couple of times. There was a fire, at least two, three times, and each time we would rebuild and continue to stay on rent. Then in 2014, there was an extreme incident where there was a huge fire. Everything we had, including clothes, documents, everything burned down. After this, the government.
Gaury, we've lost your audio a bit.
Oh, um,
Now it's
is
good.
it fine now? Oh, sorry. Um, what was the last thing that was audible?
So I think you said that there were fires and they continued to stay, and then after that we lost you.
Yeah. In the case where everything.
Uh, no, unfortunately, it's very muffled. Is there is there something on the mic, like something is covering the mic, maybe hair or something? It happens to me.
Um, let me know if this is fine.
It's not very clear, right, Tanvi? Is it just me? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit muffled.
Okay. Why don't I try joining from my phone?
This is great now. It's
Wait,
great.
whatever you did now is working.
Okay.
Just keep doing that. Go ahead.
Okay. So, I think, yeah, in 2014, there was an extreme incident where there was a huge fire and everything that we had burnt down, including clothes, documents, everything. Then the government said that this land is yours, and they gave legal documentation saying that you don't have to go anywhere and you don't have to pay rent. You have the legal right to stay on this land. This happened in 2014, and now we've come to 2025, and we have been staying on this land the whole time. Now, suddenly, we are being told by the government that we have to leave. They have themselves given us permission to stay, but now they are telling us to go because of some case that has been filed. So, despite facing issues with water, electricity, the DDA, we've stayed, and now they have even cut out our electricity for the past 7, 8 months. Because of this, our children are not able to study, and in school, their teachers abuse them and say things like, your parents aren't teaching you, your parents don't care about your education. But we ourselves are not able to manage. How will our children be able to manage in such a atmosphere? Especially in the summer with the heat, without electricity, it was completely unbearable. And it's how can one expect children to stay in such an environment without electricity? We don't have an issue with you installing a meter. We are not asking for anything to be free. We will pay for our consumption, but we want our right to electricity and water. Um, More than half of my life has been spent here. I've been staying here for more than 25 years. So Delhi is now my own city. I have no relation to the village. I consider myself to be a Delhiite. And after all this, you are telling me to go back to my village. In fact, you're calling me Bangladeshi and declaring me to not be from India at all. Uh, and I have all my documents. My parents have their documents. We have documents of land in our village, and yet we are being called Bangladeshi. We are also being called dirty just because we do cleaning work like housework or waste management work. Kabadi is the word. Just because we engage in this kind of cleaning work, we are called dirty. But who will do this work if not for us? Your household, the household of the madams and sirs living in big houses, is able to run because we are doing this work. In fact, they are the ones who spread the waste that we collect. So it is because of the waste that they spread that we have to clean things. And yet, they say that we are dirty, and when they should be treating us as family, when they should be treating us as part of this community of Delhi, we are being excluded by um, calling us dirty. Then she said that finally we have filed a case. We spoke to Shreya and other people in the union that we will fight for our right for electricity, water, and housing so that our children can study and so that we can continue to stay where we are staying. Um, the government is saying that there is another community that is claiming right to this land. But if there is such a contention, why is the government not fighting for this land, and why is the government not fighting on our behalf? Instead of the government fighting this case, we are having to take up this case ourselves. Um, and we will continue to fight for our right to live here and our right to have electricity and housing. That's it.
हाँ ठीक है, आयशा जी आप और बोलिए, और थोड़ा सा बोल के फिर गौरी जी को आगे बोलने, इंग्लिश में ट्रांसलेट करने दें।
पीछे जो बात थी
और किसी को बताऊं? और मैं तो यही बोलने चाहती हूँ कि हम लोग की जो ये मतलब ये बातें जो है ऊपर तक पहुंचे, और हमारे लिए बस कुछ मतलब ये किया जाए, एक्शन लिया जाए हमारे लिए। हम यही चाहते हैं कि हम जो ये श्रेया दीदी के साथ मिलके ये सब हम लोग कर रहे हैं, लेकिन हम इसके लिए ना कुछ कर पा रहे हैं, सिर्फ उम्मीदें रख रहे हैं जो हमारे लिए कोई कुछ करेगा, लेकिन जो उम्मीद हम कर रहे हैं वो हमारा पूरा नहीं हो पा रहे। हमारा उम्मीदें पूरा नहीं हो पा रहा है, इसकी वजह से जो हमें मतलब जब हम लोग निकलते तो लोग भी बोलते कि तुम लोग कर क्या रही हो, कि तुम कुछ कर नहीं पा रही हो। लेकिन हम यही चाहते कि हमारी बात सुने आगे, और हमारा बात की सुनवाई हो, और हमारा जो है हमने जो कदम उठाया उसके लिए हमें मतलब हम हिम्मत दिखा के आगे तो बढ़ गया। हम चाहते कि हमारा बात का कोर्ट तक सुनवाई हो, और हमें कोर्ट से मीटर लेने का परमिशन भी मिल जाए, कि आगे जो गर्मी आ रही है, अभी के पेपर भी है बच्चों की, अभी पेपर फाइनल एग्जाम शुरू है बच्चों की। हम इसलिए चाहते हैं कि हमारा फाइनल एग्जाम आने से पहले बच्चों के कि हमारा कोर्ट तक बात सुनवाई होए और हमें बिजली की मीटर दिया जाए। और हम सरकार से ये दवा नहीं कर रहे कि हमें वहां रखना ही रखना है, अब वो हमें कहीं पे भी रखे, हमें बिजली बराबर दे, हम उनको पैसे बराबर देते रहेंगे। राजधानी मतलब पूरा बड़ा है और सबके लिए है, वो अमीर गरीब कुछ नहीं देखता, वो सबके लिए बराबर है। और गरीब कैसे, लग तो सब यहाँ जो भी आए तब तो कमा के ही खा रहे हैं ना सब लोग। कमा के ही खा रहे हैं सब लोग। कोई यहाँ पे कोई किसी के ऊपर मतलब निर्भय नहीं है कि बैठा हुआ है किसी के ऊपर कोई, नहीं। सब अपनी अपनी तरीका से कमा के ही खा रहे हैं। तो इसलिए हम चाहते हैं कि हम जिस मतलब जहां हम लोग निकले हैं शीला दीदी को साथ में लेके, हमारा ये मांगे जो पूरी हो जाए, और हमें मीटर और बिजली मतलब और पानी मिल जाए, कि हमारा बस्ती भी टिके। जो बस्ती का आज हालत है कि हम पुलिस की वजह से नहीं रह पा रहे, बिजली की वजह से नहीं रह पा रहे, पानी की वजह से नहीं रह पा रहे, आइंदा कोई ना कोई उठा के ले जा रहा है, क्योंकि हम लोग का बोले सबूत डुप्लीकेट है। कहता है कि वो सबूत जो है तुम लोग का डुप्लीकेट है। जो बांग्ला भाषा बोलता है तो उसकी मतलब वो बांग्लादेशी है। ऐसे कैसे हो सकता है? आजकल हमारा देश में कितनी भाषा है, इतनी भाषा है कि कोई भी कुछ भी बोल सकता है। मराठी, हिंदी, बांग्ला, मतलब गुजराती, ऐसे को कितनों भी भाषा है। तो इसका मतलब थोड़ी है कोई भी बांग्ला बोल दिए तो वो बांग्लादेशी बन गया। उसको कहीं से भी, वो रोड से भी मतलब काम से आ रहा है इंसान, थके मारे वहीं से भी उठा लो, ये तो नहीं है ना। वो लोग जैसे देखता है हम लोग को काम से आने के लिए, बस बांग्ला बोल रहे तो इनको उठा लो। अच्छा, रह गई और चूड़ी की बात। हम लोग क्या, हम लोग जो यहाँ आए हैं कमा के खाने के लिए, तो किसी के घर में अगर हम चोरी करेंगे तो लाखों रुपए करेंगे, इससे ज्यादा तो नहीं कर पाएंगे। तो लाखों रुपए हमारा कितना दिन जाएंगे? 2 महीना खा लेंगे, 6 महीना खा लेंगे, इससे ज्यादा तो नहीं खा पाएंगे। अगर हम यहाँ रह के कमा ले हर महीना, तो हमारा हर महीना जो खर्चा निकालने के बाद भी 10-5 हजार रुपया हमारा पॉकेट में बचता है। तो हमारा कौन सा अच्छा है? हम एक दिन चोरी करके अपना गर्दन में छोड़ा थोड़ी रखेंगे। हम तो यही कहेंगे ना कि हमें यहाँ रहना और हम 12 महीना हम कमा के खाएं, मेहनत करके खाएं। क्यों हमें जेल की हवा खाना है? कोई हमारा दिक्कत ही नहीं कि हम जेल की बात क्या, जेल की हवा खाने चली जाए, है ना। कि जब हम कमा के खा सकते हैं तो 2-4 लाख लोगों का लेके हम क्या करेंगे? 2-4 लाख रुपए हम लोग अगर साल में कमा लेंगे, तो 2-3 लाख रुपए तो हम लोग मतलब एक साल में तो 2 लाख रुपए कमा ही लेंगे खुद से। तो हम क्या जरूरत है हम किसी का मार खाने जाए? ये लोग हम लोग का ऊपर झूठा इल्जाम लगा देता है। कहीं कोई कुछ सामान रख देता है, बोल देता है तुम लोग उठा के ले गए हो। छोटे मोटे सामान के लिए भी हम लोग के ऊपर इल्जाम लगा देते हैं। तो ये चाहते हैं कि हम लोग का ऊपर ये जो इंजामे लगा रहा है उसके लिए भी हमारे पास कोई सुनवाई नहीं हो रही है, कि हम कोई सुनवाई हो, कि हम लोग को बिना मतलब कि हम लोग को मतलब झूठा इंजाम लगा देते। क्योंकि इनको लगता है कि इनकी मजबूरी है, अगर हम कुछ भी बोलेंगे इनको तो कमाना है, ये इनको तो खाना है, और मजबूरी में ये लोग आएंगे कमाने के लिए। यही सोच के ये लोग कोई भी इंसान हमारा ऊपर लगा देती है, कि चोरी करती है, कभी कहता है कुछ सामान उठा के ले जाती है, कभी कहता है खाना उठा के खा लेती है। अरे ऐसा कोई बात ही नहीं है कि इंसान क्यों ऐसा काम करेगा? जहां हमें कमा के अपनी जिंदगी पालना है, वहां गलत काम क्यों करेंगे हम लोग? क्या हमें डर नहीं है क्या हम लोग को कि हम ऐसे गलत काम करेंगे? अगर हम गलत काम करेंगे तो हम दोबारा उसकी घर में हिम्मत से कैसे जा पाएंगे? लेकिन वो लोग जो झूठा इंजाम लगाते हैं उसके बाद भी हम लोग हिम्मत से जाते हैं, क्योंकि हमें पता है कि हम साफ है, हमने कुछ गलत काम नहीं किया है। तभी हम लोग वहां मतलब हिम्मत से चली जाते हैं काम करने के लिए। तो इसलिए हमारा मजबूरी का जो वो लोग फायदा उठाते हैं, इसके लिए भी हम चाहते हैं कि हमारे तरफ से कुछ सुनवाई हो जाए, कि हमारा मजबूरी का वो लोग फायदा ना उठाए। क्योंकि हम मेहनत करके खाते हैं, किसी का चूड़ी का बेईमानी के खाना नहीं खाते हैं हम लोग। क्योंकि हमें चाहे गांव में कमा के खाओ चाहे शहर में कमा के खाओ, कमा के खाना हर जगह ही होता है। कहीं भी चूड़ी का एक पैसे ना गांव में चलेगा ना तो शहर में चलेंगे, 2 से 3 महीने से इससे ज्यादा नहीं चलेंगे। इसलिए हमें भी डर है कि हम ऐसा काम कभी नहीं करेंगे, फिर भी हमें ये सब इंजामे जो है भुगतना पड़ता है बिना मतलब की। तो ये चाहते हैं कि हमारा कुछ सुनवाई हो, हमारा बिजली पानी और ये सभी बात जो है हम लोग की तरफ से ना हो। यही चाहते हैं हम लोग, इसीलिए हम लोग सारे महिला मिलके आगे बढ़ने चाहते हैं। इसीलिए हम आगे भी बढ़ चुके हैं कि हम निकले भी हैं घर से इसी से, इसीलिए कि हमारे लिए कुछ करें, कि लोग ये ना सोचे कि नहीं ये औरत है तो ऐसे बोलेंगे तो पीछे हट जाएंगे, नहीं। जो मेहनत करके खाते हैं वो कभी पीछे नहीं हटते, वो हमेशा चाहते हैं आगे चलने के लिए, क्योंकि उसमें एक हिम्मत अलग ही होती है मेहनत करने वाली को। और ना तो हम लोग बांग्लादेशी है, हम लोग वो प्रूफ दिखा सकते हैं जो प्रूफ, जितना प्रूफ है हम लोग के पास, और उसमें कोई भी ऐसा बिना मतलब कि हम लोग का बिना कानून की कोई भी प्रूफ नहीं है जो हमें बांग्लादेशी साबित किया जाए। थैंक यू दीदी।
थैंक यू आयशा जी। आप जो बोले बहुत ही अच्छा बोले, और हम गौरी जी को इंग्लिश में ट्रांसलेट करने देंगे, पर आपकी बात सुनना बहुत ही अच्छा लगा।
Yeah. So she added that she wants that yeah, our issues should reach to the top and some action should be taken on our behalf. We are at this point continuing on the basis of hope, but that hope is not translating into any action on part of the courts. And since they haven't yet given any verdict in favor of us, um, but we continue to take steps of courage. And our children will be having their final exam soon. So we want this matter to be resolved as quickly as possible so that they can also study in peace. The city is for everyone, whether it's rich or poor. We all work hard to earn our bread and butter, and no one is above the other. Um, she added that if we can't stay on this land, then the government should reallocate us somewhere else, not leave us here the way that they have, where we constantly face police brutality as well, particularly because we speak the Bengali language. Our country has many languages, including Hindi, Marathi. So why can't we speak the language that we speak? Why does speaking Bengali mean that we are Bangladeshi? Um, there's also the constant false allegations of thievery, whether it's about stealing money or stealing food or stealing small household items. Why would we steal something so small when we know that this is the place where we have to continue to work for our livelihood? And why would we risk our livelihood? That money will barely do anything for us in comparison to the amount that we have to spend. So why would we do petty thievery and risk the threat of jail? Yet we have to constantly face such allegations, and the uh, our employers know that we are vulnerable, so they take advantage of our vulnerability and put such allegations on. Um, but despite facing such allegations, we go to work with pride, and they think that because we are women, we will back down. Just because we are women, we will not back down. And those of us who actually put in effort and labor to earn to earn our livelihood, none of us back down easily. This is why all of us women have come together and formed our union, and our union is continuing to move forward, and we won't back down easily. That's what she said.
Thank you so much, Gauri. That was very helpful. And yeah, thank you again to Aisha ji. It was really amazing words. Like she's a brilliant speaker. The way everything she said, very important to hear. Tanvi, do you want to introduce the next speaker?
Yeah, so next we have Comrade Shreya from the Sangrami Gharelu Kamgar Union. So we've heard the personal testimony of Aisha Bibi and her involvement in the union's work and as a resident in the Basti. So I'll pass on to Shreya now to give kind of zoom out a bit, and then we can zoom out more with Akash. So yeah, just give us a bit of updates on the legal cases. Maybe speak about the union work, how that has been going with getting involved with the eviction cases. And yes, I'll pass it over to Shreya.
Thank you, Tanvi. First of all, thanks a lot to ILS for taking this initiative. I mean, this was this goes a long way. So I can't express the extent of our gratitude and solidarity moreover that we have received from all of you, not just in terms of not just in conducting this. I mean, we have had you in our basti as well, some of you. So that was a great amount of support. Thank you. But yes, without taking more time, I'll just continue from what Aishadi was saying in terms of the particular case that we are talking about, which is the Jai Hind Basti. It is almost a 1,200 plus household basti. So it's not, I mean, it's not a small basti. It's 1,200 families living. If 1,200 families means almost, 5,000, around 3,000, 3 to 4,000 people living in that one basti. As she had mentioned, many of these families have been living here since 2005, 2006. Definitely from 2012 onwards, a large number of families have been living here. They all have documents, their Aadhaar cards. Many of them have their voter cards here. Definitely all of them have their Aadhaar cards and other documents which says Jai Hind Basti. These are government documents, which means, as she was saying, that it was the government which had after 2014 said that this is a basti which belongs, when she's saying that sarkar ne hame yahan pe rehne ko diya hai, that the government has allowed us to stay here. What is the basically this means that this basti is among the scheduled JJ colonies of Delhi. The Delhi Development Authority, DDA, which is a semi-government sort of authority which makes the schedule of all the Jhuggi Jhopri lists that are legalized by the government. So this basti that we are talking about, which has lost its electricity now, this is the 7th month, is part of those DDA authorized bastis. So it is not an illegal settlement by any stretch of imagination. Their documents have been approved by both the DDA and the government of Delhi. It is around 2016-17 that some private families had claimed that DDA has wronged. That the government has made a mistake in declaring this as a government land. Rather, this is a agricultural land belonging to some private families who belong to a particular community called the Jats here, which is what Aishadi was referring. And we have, of course, gone ahead and this legal case has been going on now for a very long time. This year, there was a notice that was issued that because the private landowners have won the case, this basti will be demolished. That demolition notice did not have any mention of the fact whether there will be a rehabilitation, it was initially a DDA's mistake or not, or any reference to what will happen to the people. It just said that the case has been won by the private landowners. It was followed by another notice which said that the electricity that they are enjoying here, not enjoying, the electricity that they have here should be immediately cut off, because that is facilitating their illegal settlement here. So the court instructed the electricity company here, which is also a private company called BSES, to deny them electricity. And though we have been able to put a stay on the demolition notice, but the electricity that they used to have has been cut off now. It's been 7 months. So it's a 1,200 plus household basti living without electricity now for almost 6 to 7 months. We have filed a case in the High Court of Delhi regarding that also. The land case is going on in a lower court, and in the High Court we have filed a writ petition saying that until and unless the land case is settled, given we have also received a stay order in that, as a basic civic amenities, they should be getting electricity. But unfortunately, our first petition has been striked down by the High Court. The High Court has refused giving us electricity. This happened in December. The Delhi High Court has refused, saying that since the case is going on in Patiala House Court, which is the lower court, they will not grant us electricity. We have again filed a review petition this was a single bench case that we lost in High Court. We have now gone ahead for a 3-bench review. We are yet to receive a date for that. So it's been a tiring and a very long legal battle for us. But of course, it's just not a legal battle. We have also been sort of, it's also a movement for the people of the Basti. We've had major dharnas. People have, got together despite the fact that, people around them, these private families that who have claimed their land are, of course, people who live in and around. They are the wealthier section of the society also, and also have a lot of might and clout, have a lot of muscle power. And despite all of that, it is great courage of people of Jai Hind to actually come out and fight this battle. All their employment is in the same area, so they have actually risked their employment as well, and challenged the muscle power as well as the court and the administration, completely siding the private landowners and which is also a dominant community in Delhi. Besides that, this strength has also come because people in Jai Hind, especially the women who have been part of the union, have also been. It's been a long journey for at least since the COVID, at least. Several campaigns, several protests have happened. Apart from the demolition related and electricity related matter, as Aishadi was saying, for the longest time, the women of Jai Hind have actually come together with the union to sort of do several campaigns. As part of the union for the last many years, we've regularly raised at least two major campaigns. One is that most of them, as Aishadi was saying, are domestic workers who don't domestic workers in Delhi are not a scheduled work, which means the government does not recognize their work as work. Most of the women who are employed in the households as domestic workers, their work is not part of what is called the Delhi government's scheduled work list, employment list. So they, of course, don't enjoy any legal benefit in terms of their work. So they don't enjoy bonus, they don't enjoy leave. They don't have 4 days leave, which is a mandated leave, etc. They have actually, it's been an interesting journey since the last 4 years. For instance, in an interesting campaign that the union did, all of us did in terms of demanding bonus. We have been doing it for 2 years, where most of the women actually feared that if they do a movement around some of these work-related questions, they will lose their jobs. So what they did actually is that they wrote a parcha. And they said that someone else has given that parcha to me and I can't read English. So they took that parcha to their employer and said, can you just read out this? This can be an advertisement. So someone just said, and we want you to read it out. That was one strategy. The other strategy that the union has taken in terms of campaigns is that people not belonging to the same apartment go to the other apartment to campaign, so that their faces are not identified and they don't lose their jobs during the campaign. So there have been several such ways in which for the last 3-4 years, the union has been working. Definitely in the last 6 months, the toughest of the battle has been to get the stay order against demolition and now the electricity issue. One thing that if I have just a couple of more minutes, is that okay? Yeah. One thing that I just want to raise in terms of of course, you've now have a sense of the details of the demolition threat that they are receiving. Of course, Aishadi very exhaustively also spoke about the Bangladeshi aspect. So there are multiple aspects through which this precarity of the labor is being reproduced. Being produced here. The one is, of course, the housing and the basic rights, which was denied. Second, as she rightly said, is that most of the men here are doing kabadi work, which is waste picking and segregation work, and most of the women do domestic work. Both of these work are such where allegations of theft, etc., are the most usual allegations. So there is a continuous police harassment that they have to face. And third, of course, in the past 1 year, more severely, but for a longer period of time in general, has been the Bangladeshi question, that they're all Bengali speaking and they're Bangladeshis. So they keep, they are just randomly harassed by the local police. And what has happened over the years is the fact that there has been a shift in terms of, as I said, that most of these people are not part of the scheduled employment list. So there has been a shift in terms of from rights to a certain dole, or one will also not call it welfareism. So basically, before elections, many of them will receive 500 rupees in their bank accounts, but they have been systematically being denied any right to pension, any right to bonus, any right to minimum wage, or per hour wage, as it's internationally called. So all of these rights, which were well established rights in the labor movement for the longest time, has been denied to these specific sectors, be it domestic workers, be it kabadi workers, which is what mostly these people are. And since the union work had started in these bastis, as in the introduction, Tanvi said, it was just not in Jai Hind, but number of other bastis around in southern Delhi, around this place, where this basti is a majority Bengali Muslim bastis. There are UP migrants from UP, Bihar. We have been working with them since COVID, and we have seen how COVID was the watershed, where we saw a very stark shift in government policy from a right-based discourse to what we call doles, or one-time favors, and sort of systematically deny them what we associate with minimally called the right-based citizenship as question, where migrants are just being reduced to labor in the city through various, and that precarity is being created through various other factors. I mean, where caste, religion, language, these three are major factors. I mean, and being a migrant, these four factors have come together to sort of create a precarity. I mean, create a precarity to ensure that their bargaining power as labor is reduced. They will never, I mean, they are not a section of society that the people of, that the government, neither the government nor the richer section of the society wants to do away with. Though the discourse is that they want to do away with them as Bangladeshis, but they actually don't want to do away with them. Delhi will stop working if these migrants cease to stay in Delhi. The gated communities where most of these men and women, both the kabadi workers and the domestic workers, work, I mean, these gated communities will not actually operate. I mean, most of these households will collapse. I mean, the sense of structural dependence that the apartment household people have on the domestic workers and kabadi workers here is immense. It's a structural dependence. So we actually do not want to do away with them, but actually use their migration, use their language and caste question to create a sense of precarity. And since COVID, we have been, this is the final thing that I want to say, since COVID, we have been actually seeing and writing and talking about the fact that they have been sort of, there is their political standing, their economic standing, basically the standing as a citizen, as a subject of the city, which as a right-holding citizen of the city has been very structurally being taken away, created. I mean, there is an enforced sense of precarity so that they can act as the cheap labor that these cosmopolitan, metropolitan cities would want them. But again, I mean, just to end with, the struggle has been immense, as Aishadi was saying, that we all earn our own living. We don't depend on others. So, I mean, it's been a beautiful journey. It's been a tough journey, but to see all of them, besides all the muscle and the money and the legal and administration power absolutely against them, in various other, I mean, not just in these cases, just to end with this, I mean, the demolition and the electricity battle has been, of course, a very tough battle and an existential battle where everyone has come out, both in the legal battle as well, otherwise on the ground. But in the last 3 years, I mean, in several of the cases where wrong cases of thefts were filed, all the union members came together. I mean, filing an FIR in a case is so difficult when some of these women were wrongly beaten up. Wrong cases of theft were imposed on them. In the last 2 years, the union has been actually able to file 3 FIRs. I mean, some of the lawyers came up and said that we have never seen FIRs being filed again by domestic workers against the residents of the gated communities. So actually the union and the people have come a long way, and we are hoping that we will be able to sort of see light, not symbolically, actually practically, in the legal case that we are fighting. But it has been a tough and long battle. Yeah, I'll end it here. Sorry for taking more time.
That was perfect. Really well said. And kudos to you, all of you, for all the work you've done. Very, very impressive and very good to get an understanding of legal cases. Right, then we go ahead for the next speaker.
Yeah, thank you so much, Shreya. That's really amazing to hear about. Yes, so next we have Akash Bhattacharya, who is the National Councillor of the All India Central Council of Trade Unions. So Akash is going to talk about the wider drive of detentions and deportations. So yes, I'll pass on to you, Akash, if you're happy to go.
Okay, thank you very much. This is already a fantastic conversation, and I'm very glad to be able to add to it. Just to add to some of the things which Aishadi and Shreya have already said. What Aishadi mentioned, that in situations like what you have in Jai Hind camp, children tend to drop out of school. Now, just last week, we were in Gurgaon among communities which had been subjected to verification drives. And we met a person, I mean, we knew him from earlier, who had started a community school for children who had actually dropped out. Now, in this community school, he is teaching basic mathematics, English, etc. He's teaching Hindi and he's teaching Arabic so that the children can also read the Quran, which is important to the religious identity of the community. And as soon as the school started, some people from the area apparently came and warned this guy, Najmulda, that you cannot teach Arabic. The rest of it is fine. If you teach Arabic again, we will make sure you go to jail. So he stops teaching Arabic. Now, the moot point here is, who are these people who have the impunity to now walk into a migrant workers residential camp and tell a person, don't teach Arabic? So, that's the societal an aggression that these people are living under. And it's very systematically created. I will come to that in a minute. Then coming to what Shreya mentioned, the status of colonies like Jai Hind camp. Delhi has this very peculiar arrangement where you have colonies like these, which are neither legalized in the sense that the people living there, they don't have the titles to the land, but neither are they purely illegal because they've been recognized. These are recognized Jhukki Jhopris, the list which Shreya mentioned, the Dusib list. It's actually a very interesting phenomenon which someone called Gautam Bhan has actually come up with a very good term for it, called planned illegalities. And our point all throughout has been, not only in Jai Hind camp, everywhere where we are protesting demolitions, that if it's a planned illegality, if people have been issued voter I cards, etc., in those addresses, then how come they are being declared illegal overnight and being kind of thrown out? So these are just further dimensions of the situation that we have at hand. Definitely, it's rooted in the political economy of migration. As both Aishadi and Shreya said, Delhi cannot work without migrants, but the employers and the state also know that if one set of migrants go, another set of migrants will come because of the level of precarity which exists. And if you look carefully at the pattern of demolitions in Tughlakabad, Bela Estate and other parts of Delhi, you actually find a very chilling pattern. That being that you have families which have been living there for decades. The first generation which came and settled down. The second generation which has started going to school or college or taken up jobs. And that's exactly when the bulldozers fall. So when the family, after having spent a couple of decades in the city, is on the cusp of upward social and economic mobility, the bulldozers fall and they're back to square one. So it is a very systematic creation of precarity, So that's why I really like the title that you gave. It's a very systematic attack on the migrant workers. So systematic precarity is one important dimension of the whole situation. I want to now take you to Gurgaon or Gurugram as it has been renamed, which is, if you're familiar with Delhi, further down the yellow line from Jai Hind camp. In Gurugram last year in July, there was a very serious attack on migrant workers. Our organization, ILAJ, All India Lawyers Association for Justice, we came up with a brief report. I'll just read out 2 or 3 short sections from it to highlight the way the legal constitutional apparatus is now being mobilized to specifically target Bengali migrant workers. So here what we find, when we heard about, we have some union members in Gurgaon among people who collect the garbage, kabadi workers, they're called in popular language over here. So some of them had been picked up. And when we heard about it, we realized that between 18 July and 25th July last year, over 250 Bangla-speaking, predominantly Muslim migrant workers had been detained, beaten and harassed in Gurugram. So while all barring 10 were let off by 25th July, the detention sparked off a wave of fear and unrest among the migrant workers who immediately left for their villages in Bengal and Assam. Now, when we visited again subsequent to July, by now, the last time we visited was last week. I visited last week for the last time. Even up to last week, only 60% of them had come back. And among them, in our assessment, not more than half had gotten their jobs back. So almost all families said कि दोनों में तो किसी एक को नौकरी मिली है. And the word that all of them used is a very interesting Bangla word. कि कोनो भावे चले जाच्छे. Somehow we are managing. So not more than half have got their jobs back. Now, when we went to Gurugram upon hearing this news in last July, we went to the police and asked the basis on which these people have been picked up. Now, on our demand, the Gurugram police handed over a copy of the district magistrate's order. But the district magistrate's order was based on a letter from the Ministry of Home Affairs. Now, this letter was supposedly a secret letter. Even journalists who had reported on it were called to the Ministry of Home Affairs and asked to take notes then and there, but not allowed a photocopy or even a picture of that order. But through various government contacts, we finally got hold of the order. And the guidelines that we found were quite worrying. So the guidelines are contained in the MHA letter dated 2nd May. It asks all state governments and union territory administrations, and I'm quoting now, to set up a special task force in each district under the police of the state or the union territory to detect, identify, and deport or send back illegal immigrants from Bangladesh or Myanmar settled in the state and union territory concerned. It further asks all state governments and union territory administrations to set up adequate holding centers in each district under the police of the state to detain illegal immigrants from Bangladesh and Myanmar. Now, not going into the rest of the order at the moment, but just analyzing the order a little bit, we find that, see, these guidelines contain the first of its kind, to our knowledge, in our understanding, the first of its kind instructions for detention of people on the mere suspicion of being foreign nationals, right? Mere suspicion. The guidelines invoke the Foreigners Act of 1946 and the Citizenship Act of 1955 with regard to the treatment of foreigners or illegal immigrants, but extends the detention to Indian citizens who might be suspected of being nationals of Bangladesh and Myanmar. Now, neither of the aforesaid acts which are invoked here, they allow for detention on mere suspicion. So the guidelines are blatantly illegal. Even Section 32G of the Foreigners Act, which authorizes detention without a stated reason, applies only to foreigners and not to suspected foreigners. The guidelines grant blanket adjudicatory powers to the executive without any check whatsoever, right? So adjudicatory power as in the SOP, the standard operating procedure. It authorizes detention under suspicion and grants the police all the powers of verification, but does not provide a set of things. One, a clear basis on which suspicion can be cast on Indian nationals. It says nothing about it. It says nothing about the procedure by which the verification is supposed to take place. It says nothing about the documents which migrants should keep ready for verification. There is no explanation as to why existing documents like voter card, Aadhaar card, PAN card, even NRC certificates are not applicable during verifications under the order. the people who were detained and then let off, they were not issued a verification certificate which would immune them from similar drives in the future. There is no explanation for the 30-day rule by which a citizen can be adjudged to be a foreigner if the police fail to verify his citizenship within 30 days of detention. So the person who is being detained has no way to appeal. He doesn't have a right of appeal, in case the police adjudicates him to be a foreigner. The suspected Indian citizen is not given a right to appeal his detention, or in the case he is adjudged to be a foreigner, any such adjudication. So it's very clearly arbitrary, deeply racialized and classist. There's also no provision of compensation for the loss of livelihoods of workers during the period of detention or due to the unwillingness of employers to keep them in their jobs following detention. This violates a range of things, Article 21 of the Constitution, India's obligations under international law, UDHR, ICCPR, and so on and so forth. So that is the extent to which this has become systematic. Now, following this, the matter was raised before the Honorable Supreme Court, which then issued a notice to all state governments to report on what they have done following this order. Some reports came, some didn't, and the court didn't further follow up. But what we have then found is while official detentions have, become minimal, in places like Odisha, in various southern states, there is a very strong social and administrative attack on migrant workers. It's come down to a level of what we would call extra state violence. We saw that in Gurugram also, but we see that very rampant in Odisha. We see that very rampant in various southern states. So that's what's going on. I mean, this order is there, and this order has not been withdrawn. The order doesn't have a specific time limit. There's no time limit at which the order comes to an end, nothing like that. And so you have a justification for state governments to detain people or to not detain people officially, but for this kind of attacks to happen on Bengali migrant workers from the police or from local society. Now, while this is strongly grounded in the political economy of migration, it's also part of, what we would call a Hindutva, the Hindu nationalist targeting of a very specific ethno-linguistic group, which is the Bengalis. Now, you have a situation where Bengali speakers are suspected to be Bangladeshis unless proven otherwise. Now, how do you prove otherwise? One is by your name and by your look. If by name and by look you don't appear to be a Bengali Muslim, in all likelihood, people will say, okay, that's all right. Now, when I say people, I literally mean people, because it is happening on the streets. It's happening at the everyday level. Just a few days ago, my own, where I live in Delhi, the house owner, the landowner came to my place, for some work. And when he asked me, you're going to Calcutta? I said, yes. Oh, Calcutta is the place where a lot of Bangladeshis live, isn't it? He said that very innocuously. I said, no, Calcutta is a place where Calcuttans live and Bangladeshis live in Bangladesh. He said, okay. Now, see, it's really, it sounds very funny, but to me, even to me, it sounds funny. I can't believe things have really come to this, but it's literally people suspecting you, if you're a Bengali speaker, to be a Bangladeshi unless proven otherwise. And again, if you're a Bengali Muslim by name or by look, then far stronger chance that you are going to be cast under the net of suspicion. Now, why Bengalis? I think that's important to look at, because a lot of people, particularly foreign journalists who have asked me, they've been very surprised because Bengalis are a major ethno-linguistic group, but Bengalis as an ethno-linguistic group, it falls outside the traditional ideological and cultural heartland of Hindu nationalism. I think that's very important to take note of. While Hindu nationalism invokes a lot of Bengali thinkers as ideologues, whether it's Bankim Chandra, whether it is Swami Vivekananda, whether they would have supported Hindu nationalism or not is not the point here. They are invoked. But organizationally, Hindu nationalism took root in Maharashtra and then spread out into the Hindi-speaking region. So within the political imaginary of Hindu nationalism, there are certain regions which are treated as outliers. Southern India, Bengal, northeastern India, Kashmir, of course, these are all the major outliers. So religion is one marker there, but it's not only religion. It's also ethno-linguistic groups which don't which don't conform to that political imaginary in a very easy manner. Now, of course, Bengal is also associated with communism. So the more the reason to be suspicious of Bengal and for Bengalis. You see this discourse panning out every time now before a state election in Bengal. It happened last time, it's happening now again. A whole range of historical references being brought up and being debated about the identity of Bengalis, etc., etc. So the Hindu nationalist logic, I think it's very much at work over here, and through that we find a very a very new kind of an entanglement, I would say, of caste, class, gender identity, and citizenship. And it is something new because we have not had this kind of a government before, this kind of an ideology dominating the nation state. Where a person is suspect, a person who is a Bengali Muslim migrant worker, has to be kept precarious so that he can be exploited. At the same time, he has to be persecuted because he's a Bengali Muslim and therefore falls outside the political imaginary of Hindu nationalism. I really, it's it's always been there, these elements in society, but for this to happen at such a systematic level by molding the legal constitutional apparatus in this way is something quite remarkable. So various organizations are trying to organize against it through various channels, on the ground, through some degree of advocacy, the legal channel, parliament, and so on and so forth. But yeah, it's very important to, I think, raise further awareness. I don't think there's enough conversation on this at the moment, whether it's in India or even among the diaspora. And I think programs like this go a long way, not only raising awareness, but also bringing together different people who are working on this. Right now, if you look at the political opposition and the civil society groups, there's a lot of conversation on the attack on institutions like the Election Commission, universities, judiciary, and so on and so forth. But the repercussions of Hindutva fascism at the mass level among different communities which are being consistently disenfranchised, that's a conversation which is still, I think, building up. It's not quite, it's still a bit underrepresented. And definitely, in recent times, particularly in response to the new labor codes, which further strike down the rights of workers, we see unions and workers' organizations of different kinds. There are central trade unions, there are autonomous unions, and there are also non-union workers' organizations. All of them increasingly coming together to tackle these questions and to really bring these up as central questions of contemporary politics. So conversations like this go a long way in cementing that kind of solidarity as well. So thank you for organizing this. I'll end with that. If there are further questions, I'll answer. And let me share a few of these documents which I've used for this talk. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Akash. That was extremely helpful overview of how the systematic part. And yeah, it's good you mentioned Odisha as well, because I think about 447 workers were rounded up in Odisha from what I know. So yeah, thank you very much. We would love to do, and yeah, thank you for the documents. We'll put them on a blog post and on the YouTube link for the webinar so everybody can see these. Are the speakers okay to spend I know we've passed the hour mark, but can we do 5-10 minutes for questions? Yeah. Okay. I'll read one that's come through in the chat from Usman J. It's in English, and I'll try my best to translate it as well. So, small question for Aisha ji and Shreya. Maybe I missed this. You mentioned the role of DDA, which Delhi Development Authority, I think. What was the role of the Delhi government, and has that changed since BJP came to power? I think last year. And asking this also because many people in Jai Hind vote in Delhi. To translate it for Aisha जी आपने डीडीए का रोल के बारे में बात की, पर दिल्ली गवर्नमेंट का क्या रोल रहा है, और पिछले साल बीजेपी पावर में आई तो उसके बाद आपने कुछ बदलाव देखा? और ये इसलिए पूछ रहे हैं क्योंकि काफी लोग जय हिंद बस्ती में वोट भी करते होंगे दिल्ली में.
हमने तो कोई मतलब बदलाव नहीं देखा है, क्योंकि बीजेपी आया कि हम जब से दिल्ली में है तब से पहले तो फिर भी थोड़ा बहुत ठीक थी, लेकिन अब तो हमने कोई बदलाव नहीं देखा है यहाँ पे। क्योंकि हम लोग ये जो पॉल्यूशन है, ये जो 2-4 दिन में कहता है कि पॉल्यूशन है, पता है हम लोग का काम जो है मिस्त्री काम है। ये पोल्यूशन आजकल ज्यादा फैल रही है, जो अभी का जो सरकार कर रही है, कह रही है कि पोल्यूशन ज्यादा फैल रही है। और पता है कि एक मिस्त्री के घर में जब एक बीबी बैठी रहती है तो उस मिस्त्री की पूरा खर्चा अपनी मिस्त्री के ऊपर से ही उठता है, उसका घर का खर्चा। और ये पोल्यूशन की वजह से उन्होंने काम बंद करवा दिया। जो पिछला 2-3 साल से ये काम ज्यादा चल रहा है कि फैक्ट्री का भी बंद हो जाता है तो कभी मिस्त्री का काम बंद हो जाता है। तो बड़ा बड़ा जो लोगों का बंद हो जाता है उनका घर तो चल जाते हैं, लेकिन हम जैसों का घर तो नहीं चलते हैं ना। हमारा तो एक, देखो हर कई दिल्ली में रहते हैं तो इसका मतलब नहीं है कि हर कई घर की बीबी मतलब घर की औरतें काम करते हैं, नहीं। मतलब कुछ बीबियां हैं आज भी जो है बैठे रहते हैं घर में, काम नहीं मतलब बाहर की काम नहीं करते। तो उनकी घर के लिए मतलब चलाना बहुत मुश्किल हो रही है। ये देखो पॉल्यूशन है, पॉल्यूशन है, इस महीना में कम से कम आज 3 महीना में 4 बार पॉल्यूशन के चक्कर में बंद करवा दिया काम। तो बताओ कि एक घर में एक पति सब बैठे रहता है तो उस घर में कैसे चलेगा? एक औरत कितना कमा लेगी? 10 से 15 हजार रुपए? क्या एक 10 हजार 15 हजार रुपए में एक घर चल जाएंगे? दिल्ली में कौन सी चीज नहीं है जो खरीदा हुआ नहीं है? पानी, बिजली, मतलब सब्जियां, चावल, आटा, बच्चों की पढ़ाई का खर्चा, गाड़ी में भेजो उसकी खर्चा, मतलब स्कूल तक भेजो तो उसकी खर्चा। ऐसे कौन सी खर्चा नहीं है कि बिना पैसे की होते हैं दिल्ली में? तो एक आदमी अगर बैठे रहेंगे पॉल्यूशन के चक्कर में, 1 महीना में 3 बार काम बंद कर चुके हैं, 3 बार काम बंद कर चुके हैं, तो लोग क्या करेंगे? वो उस घर में कैसे चलेंगे? जगह जगह में सुन रही हो कि आज उसकी बोले पति खत्म हो गई, कल पत्नी खत्म हो गई। क्यों हो रही है? क्योंकि लोगों के घर में खाने के लिए मताज हो गई है, इसलिए लोगों का घर में ऐसे हो रही है कि ना तो बच्चे पाल पा रही है ना तो पत्नी पाल पा रही है। और एक पति कमाना घर में कितनी मुश्किल, मतलब कितनी इमरजेंसी की काम है कि उसको कमाना ही कमाना होता है एक आदमी के लिए। अगर सरकार अगर हम लोग का मजबूरी ना समझे, हर बार अगर यही काम बंद करवा दे, तो उन्होंने कभी सोचा कि हम जैसे आम आदमियों का घर कैसे चलेगा? कैसे चलेंगे हम जैसे आम आदमियों का घर? नहीं,
Translate.
नहीं चलते हैं ना।
Translate. I'll quickly translate and also respond that. What Aishadi probably was trying to say is that there has not been any change for the good after BJP has come. Some of the specific things that she had in mind is the fact that in the last some time, given, I mean, a lot of, though pollution might be a issue, but it has had an adverse effect that a lot of work has been stopped in the name of controlling pollution. So, in the name of controlling pollution, the work that has been stopped are of the working class of the people. So, a lot of people in the Basti who work as mistri and who work as masons or are involved in construction work in Delhi, their work was stopped because in the name of controlling pollution by the present regime, which has gone a long way in sort of creating a lot of distress in these families. Many of the men have lost their jobs. Thrice it has been that in the last 3 months there have been spells in which, in the name of pollution, people have been denied work, and these people are mostly people who belong to their bastis and working class in general. More directly to responding to the question of what was the role of Delhi Development Authority. The role of Delhi Development Authority has been quite strange to say the least, in the sense that I mean, historically speaking, it can be mapped out. I mean, at different stages of development of Delhi, DDA's role has been different. I mean, as Aishadi was also saying, that many and as the history of Delhi goes, and something that Akash was also hinting towards, that in the 70s and the 80s, when there was actually a need of a lot of migrant labor in Delhi, a lot of these settlements were created with legal, semi-legal, paralegal status, saying that these are DDA authorized Jhuggi Jhopri colonies, but the people of these Jhuggi Jhopris were never given land entitlements, but they were said that ये सरकारी जमीन है जहाँ पे आप रह सकते हो. This is government land where you can stay. So somewhere between legal and semi-legal was their status. But in the last 1 year, we have seen that even if they are DDA authorized colonies, or colonies that were authorized in the 90s and the 2000s, and in the revised list since 2014 and 16, even if their colonies are there in the DDA authorized list, bulldozers have run them down. Either bulldozers have run them down, or struggles have been able to bring some stay orders. But there have been various demolition notices to many of these even DD authorized colonies or semi-legal colonies, be it in Jai Hind, be it in Madrasi camp, be it several other Tughlakabad and several other colonies in Delhi has seen that. In the specific case of Jai Hind, the DDA, as has been already said, that DDA had authorized this land. Even if, I mean, as I speak now, if people open the DDA satellite image, I mean, the whole of the Basti is shown as a DDA Basti, even today. While in the court, DDA has said that no, the private landowners are right, that this land belongs to the private landowners. So the obvious, I mean, contradiction here is, I mean, open to anyone's eyes. But of course, the court has not seen the DDA's own satellite images, which says the Basti is a DDA Basti, but has actually ruled against. Has ruled in favor of the private landowners, and DDA has not actually come up with any rehabilitation or any statement as to what its role should be in the light of the fact that the court order is saying that the land does not belong to the DDA or the Basti people.
It's very helpful, thank you. And also, like on what Akash said and what Aishadi said on the systematic targeting of workers, whether it is through Hindu nationalism or even saying we're solving a pollution problem, it's always the workers paying the price for all of it. So that's good to hear. I mean, it's horrible. It's good to understand that, how it affects people on the ground. There's another question in the chat. Anybody is welcome to answer it. Thanks in solidarity to the struggles of Aisha BBG and the union supporting this important work. Thanks, Akash, for explaining the wider context. Sounds like the government order is giving the power similar to ICE in America against who they deem to be illegal immigrants. The question is there any work done to support the education of the children in the community that people listening could help with?
I think Aishadi and Shreya could take that question.
Right. Yes, of course. I mean, Alice has actually been has come forward in support. I mean, in Jai Hind, we actually run a library where many of the children of the domestic workers, I mean, it acts both as the domestic worker union's office space as well as sometimes a creche for the kids of the domestic workers, and definitely as a library space. So yes, there are efforts, which is not just after the demolition. This has been a part of the union work for the last 4 years. Actually, we started with the education work, and the union work actually gradually evolved thereafter, where we were actually giving classes both to help them in their curriculum, as well as some extracurriculum work as part of the library, which was basically managed by the union and the workers who were associated with the union. So yes, and a lot of teachers in this library were the youths of the Jai Hind Basti. So so some of those initiatives are taken. Way less than what is actually needed in terms of what actually is the depth of the educational crisis here. They all go to the government school nearby, where, I mean, of course, we know how to promote private schools in Delhi, even under the Aam Aadmi Party and definitely under the BJP. There is a systematic way in which government schools' quality of education has been, done away with to promote private schooling. So depth of the problem is way graver. The present demolition and the electricity cut has actually made it worse for individual families to also even access even the limited quality of education that they could. Yeah.
How often does the library work happen?
We have regular classes. I mean, we have classes 5 days a week, and on Sundays we have a special sort of like where we don't teach their curriculum work, but we have a workshop sort of a thing on Sunday mornings, and from Monday to Friday we have regular classes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, call to action if anyone's in Delhi or knows anyone who would be interested in helping. I'm sure that would be really helpful to the union. Tanvi, I think there were a few other questions from you.
Yeah, I thank you so much to both of you, all three of you, for speaking. It's been really amazing to hear about. I had a question about, so I know the Sangrami Gharelu Kamgar union is for the domestic workers. Is there also work being done to unionize the kabadi workers? And is there? And I know Akash, you were saying that this is something that you're taking up in Gurgaon. So yeah, I wanted to know more about what's happening in terms of that. And then a second question I had is kind of also what does the Jai Hind legal case of these demolitions mean for other demolition cases across Delhi, and if there are other eviction cases, and yeah, how those are connected as well to anyone, whoever wants to take.
Akash, you want to start?
Yeah, regarding organizing kabaddi workers, yeah, it's going on. I mean, in Gurgaon, at the moment, the effort is to zero in on a set of problems that they're facing as workers, in terms of violation of their rights, and also the snatching away of the rights under the new labor codes. And we're working on a memorandum to submit to the government, and that could then form the basis for further action. So it would be nice to keep you all in the loop about how that's going, and I'll get back to you when there's more to share. Regarding the public library thing, I just wanted to add, you see, increasingly in places like Delhi, as various institutions have come under attack, local libraries and various community libraries have actually become very important centers of organizing. So you have a library being run in Jai Hind Colony. Our union has run a library and school in Kusumpur Pahadi for a while. Then there are various local libraries and new networks. And a network called Community Library Network has come into being, which is doing very good work in places like Khidki, Sultanpur, etc., range of urban villages. So those who want to help with education of the children, I think in the current context, it's good to think of education as formal education of children who are dropping out, but also, some kind of ideological education regarding their rights, what rights they have as workers, as citizens, as students, etc., what rights are being violated. Some of that, which is what I see organizations like Khirki Community Library do. So if anyone is interested, I could connect them to a range of other libraries as well. And I think the libraries will be very happy to have more support and solidarity from this group and others. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, very similar thing to say. I mean, though we work with domestic workers, SDU works with domestic workers, but over the years since our work has been, in the informal sector of working, unlike how unions are formed in factories, here in the informal sector, you really don't have factory gates where you can have meetings in front of those gates. There are no gates of formal work for most of these kabadi or domestic workers. So most of our organizing actually happens in the place of their residence, in the basti itself. Campaigns, of course, happen in the place of work if there is that much strength. And we have, as I was saying, in the past, used various tactics to actually enter the apartments and also do campaigns there. So when we actually do basti-based organizing and union works, we actually then have to cover all employments that are there, all people who are working. And therefore, kabadi has been one work that our union has, and others also have been strongly working or trying to organize, which is mostly at one level trying to do the everyday negotiations which any union has to do, but of course also try to see what systemic way of placing some of these precarious sectors of work can be. I mean, litigations to the Delhi government, documentation process, ensuring that the labor commissions actually take more consideration of these works which actually don't formally fall under their purview. In the last couple of years, we've gone to the Delhi Labor Commission many a time, especially with kabadi cases, because there's a lot of, I mean, because their work is on public streets. One collection of kabadi from households, but a lot of people in Jai Hind also work in public streets where they are just picked up by the police as saying that you are picking up public goods. So we've gone to the Labor Commission, organized accordingly, but it's a long way to go because there are no set rules to. I mean, the trade union, I think it's a challenge for the whole of the trade union movement to actually see how these informal sectors of work will need to be organized. Many of us, Akash and many of us are working towards that. Yes, I mean, mostly that.
If I may add a bit to that, I think it's a very important point coming up here, which is when you're organizing the informal sector, whether it is kabadi workers or domestic workers, you basically have trade unions who also have to function as community organizations, and which can be a challenge. As Shreya said, that you have to, there's an everyday negotiation that all unions have to do, but you also have to engage with the state. But it's also, it can be a strength in the sense that because of this interconnected kind of situation that we have, where workplace and the neighborhood kind of merge together, and neighborhoods become one of the important sites of workplace organizing. You're able to raise workers' questions in a more comprehensive manner, bringing together questions of wages and workplace rights along with questions of housing, basic civic amenities, etc., which leads directly to the macro level issues such as say, pollution or citizenship and so on and so forth. So that's an interesting moment, I feel, that and we've seen the impact of that over the last couple of years, that when you have most trade unions have become involved in housing rights questions because the places where our union members live, those places have been subjected to bulldozer attacks. All the places, union members give a call and say that, look, houses are being attacked, why don't you come and help us? So that has created a very interesting kind of cohort of various groups, which is a very good mix of community organizations, unions, etc., which are coming together under a broad banner of right to the city, intersecting with workplace rights and questions of citizenship. Thank you.
Thank you. Very helpful information. We have, I think, 3 more questions or more. There was a question about, I think Akash, you briefly spoke about this, but any progress and challenges for unionizing in Gurgaon following the verification drives in the summer?
Yeah, see, unionizing has become very difficult following the verification drive because the most important problem is that the workers are very scared. There's no other way to put this. They are just outrightly scared, and those who have come back, they are ready to do anything to just be able to survive in that space. Which means one of the things which they definitely don't want is to draw unnecessary visibility to themselves. So coming forward to unionize could be a way to draw unnecessary visibility for them, like in their minds. Now, the bigger challenge is, see, in Delhi, you have despite the state repression and all of that, you still have a good citizens network which can stand by people, when they get attacked or get picked up and so on and so forth. But in Gurgaon, that space is very weak. And which makes it far more difficult for workers to be able to participate in the unionization process with a sense of security that it's ultimately not going to go against us. So the verification, our unionization efforts there kind of started prior to the verification drives, but following the verification drives, it's become far more difficult and complicated. So it's a terrain that we are navigating, and see, ultimately comes down to trust. Ultimately, if the workers trust you, they are willing to work with you, and it's for unions to be able to build that kind of an environment within themselves where there is a relationship of mutual trust, despite the kind of attacks that they're facing, where workers feel that unionization will actually help them rather than do damage to their prospects. So it's a challenge which we are navigating on a regular basis.
Yeah, and I think what Shreya said, like they've been working with the union even before this demolition happened, and there has been trust there, so it's possibly been easier to unionize in that sense. So yeah, it's a mixture of community work and unionizing. Okay, are we okay to take a few more questions? Thank you. Um, is there a question from Praveen? Is there any wider work, either locally or nationally, going for informal work such as domestic work and kabadi work to be legalized and get them protections and pensions? And more, how is app-based work impacting particularly domestic worker rights? I had this question as well.
Yeah.
Any?
Whether there has been national initiatives, yes. With regard to domestic workers specifically, since 1950s, there have been more than actually 56 private as well as several sort of bills that have been placed in state legislations as well as the Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha for a separate legislation only for domestic workers. Because this is one sector of work where we have seen after construction, agriculture, and to some extent garment. This is one of the sectors of work where largest number of women, definitely urban working class women, are engaging, and it's one sector of work which has not been legalized, so to say, in most of the states in India. So there is a national campaign for a separate legislation for domestic workers nationally as well as state levels. With regard to informal sector in general or kabadi workers, domestic workers in general, bringing up the question of legalization and national initiatives for informal sector. I mean, this has been a long battle and question in terms of union movement in India. We did have an unorganized sector legislation in 2008. Which mostly restricted itself restricted itself talking about the social security of the informal sector workers, not much with their work related or wage related demands, but more to do with the social security demands. But even with that, we have seen that though there was a 2008 legislation in national legislation, it was never implemented. But what has happened in the last 1 year is even worse, which is we all know that the labor codes that have been nationally. I mean, it's just in the last month we saw that. It was executed by the government of India that all the existing labor laws will be replaced by 4 labor codes. And we see very little of a protection for either for social security or work-based rights for informal workers. Actually, what has happened is that even what was so far the formal sector is now becoming the informal sector. I mean, whatever is the formal sector, even their employees are actually, informally employed even in the formal sector. I mean, for instance, in India right now, any enterprise, a formal enterprise which employs anything and any employee less than 100 will not be part of the industrial code. If they employ less than 30, then it will be not part of the social security code. I'm saying this for the formal sector work. So there is hardly any enterprise today in India. Most of the production units in India do not employ anywhere close to 30 or 60. According to Government of India's own records, the average is 10 to 15 number of employees in one unit. which means most of the laws are not going to be implemented to anyone, be it the formal or the informal. That's what we are talking about in India today. So yes, there is a national movement. Many of us across trade unions are trying to sort of protest against the new labor codes and definitely try to bring up the fact that it is the informalization of labor that needs rights, not doles or welfare. Yeah.
Very useful info. Okay, two more and then we can wrap up. One is from Sanket asking Comrade Akash if we were to get involved and support the work that's been happening around unionizing affairs in Gurgaon, who would be the best person to contact? So yeah, if you could share something in the chat for people, even for the library and this, that would be super helpful. Anywhere where people can contact.
Sharing on the chat, I'm not so sure if whoever is interested could message me on Signal, and then I could share further contacts.
Okay,
Whether
yeah.
it is from Gurgaon, yeah, you can pass on my number, message me on my number on WhatsApp or Signal, and I'll then take the conversation forward.
Okay, yeah, we can do that. And the last
Same
question
here, in case someone wants to get in touch with the library work or any other work we do. I mean, my numbers are with everyone in ILS. The new number you can pass on to anyone who wants. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Okay, final question. While the workers, while the workers you are working with are migrant workers, it seems workers are settled and they have some housing rights which are being violated at the minute. Are you also working with first generation recent migrant workers? If so, how is it different? And are you going back to their villages, etc.? What thinking is going on? I lost the question. What thinking is going on those for pan-Indian migrants who move from city to city?
In terms of working with first generation workers, I mean, most of the workers, I mean, Aishadi and others are actually first generation workers in Delhi. So that's mostly who we are right now working in terms of first generation people who have migrated into Delhi either in the 80s or the 90s. And as was being discussed here, I mean, the mode of work is basically, for instance, though we are a trade union, but we operate also as a library, we operate as a women's organization because most of our so we when people come to us, come to the union, they don't just say कि हमें bonus नहीं मिला. They also come for all other range of issues. So that's the strength of a neighborhood based union, and we have actually consciously sort of tried to give that form where range of political as well as economic and social questions that first generation workers in terms of their rights in the city, in terms of their working as well as social rights. I mean, to the extent that the union actually, celebrates some of the festivals together. I mean, we recently actually celebrated Sankranti together because in a city like Delhi, people really want to also have the social space. People are just not workers; they're also people. So the union work has actually meant all of this and more. One question I probably missed was something about the app-based workers and domestic work. Yes, that has been a very growing thing. Book My Buy, etc. One of the things that we have observed in South Delhi, specifically where our work has been, is that it is not growing as fast as maybe delivery and other work, app-based work has grown, primarily because there's another element that works here because these are domestic workers who actually enter your households, and they are people who are cleaning your bedrooms and your drawing rooms and keys of your cupboards stay with them. So there is still a very strong dependence on the networks of workers. If someone is leaving if someone is leaving job, most of the employees will say कि तुम अपने विश्वास का मुझे कोई देके जाओ. That you actually replace the worker because I trust you. You have worked, how my daughter eats and what she doesn't eat, so basically you give me another worker. So that's the network on which mostly it's very specific to the kind of work that domestic workers do. But still, nonetheless, yes, apps are growing. And as we have seen with the history of gig work in India, none of these apps are going to be any useful for the workers, for the simple reason is that the software and the hardware, none of it is in their hands. They will be rated, the ratings will go up and down, which is not in their hands. So a lot of a lot of systems which will actually give them and evaluate them at their work is systems that they don't even access and have any sense of.
Yeah, just to add to that, I definitely agree with what Shreya said. But what you also see is that the patterns of exclusion that we are discussing is also being mirrored in the app-based economies. To give you an example, in Gurgaon, there's an app called Pronte, which is an app for domestic work. So a couple of months ago, the app decided to exclude a whole bunch of Bengali Muslim workers, and then there was some pressure from various quarters, and ultimately that policy was done away with. So the patterns of exclusion that we find in the society here is also being mirrored in whatever app-based economy is being created for domestic work. Regarding organizing migrant workers who are first generation, no, see, I mean, when you go to colonies like Jai Hind Camp or Pusumpur Pahadi or whatever colonies in Gurgaon, in these colonies you have first and second generation workers together. So don't really, we have never really felt the need to separate one from another. We find a lot of first generation migrants and seasonal migrants in the among construction workers. Now, most of them come to the city through prior networks, either family networks or community networks. So when one is organizing, then one is also organizing through these networks, which allows us to reach out to and contact various first generation workers. Now, as far as organizing them on a national scale, I mean, see, the scale is massive. So what, at least for us in AICCTU, the organization has units in different districts in different parts of the country, places of out-migration as well as cities, places of in-migration. So wherever we have units, within our units, we have migrant workers. And for organizing in cities, we are always trying to connect with the backward linkage of the migrant workers back to the villages to try and organize there as well. So I think at the moment, what we really need, I mean, it can't happen at the moment, but over a period of time, you need kind of a nationally kind of coming together of various organizations which are able to work with migrant workers. All organizations, wherever they're strong, wherever they're working, we have the working class in India is to a great extent a migrant working class, right? So when you're organizing workers, more often than not, you are organizing migrant workers. So migration as an axis of work and citizenship is a key political question. And on that note, I'd also like to invite all of you to a webinar which we're organizing on 25th of January called Whose Republic? Migrants speak out on the eve of Independence Day. We will talk about migrant workers, but also student migrants who are under attack, like Angel Chakma, a migrant student from northeastern parts of India to migrated to a northern state, Uttarakhand, where he was attacked and killed. So yeah, that's the long and short of it. But it's a much bigger conversation on how do we really organize different sections of migrant workers. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Please do share links for that webinar in the chat so people can join it. We're almost reaching the 2-hour mark, so I will wrap this up. Thank you. Big, heartfelt thanks to Aisha ji, Comrade Shreya, and Comrade Akash. There's a wealth of information in this webinar. And thank you to everyone who joined. We will be putting this webinar on YouTube and on our blog so you can rewatch. I certainly will rewatch it because there's just so much here that I want to watch again and understand. And if you have any questions, feel free to email us. We'll try our best to answer and ask, it's just been a long time today, so we'll wrap up now. Yeah, anybody else has anything to say before we finish?
Yeah, I just also want to say thank you, and it's really great to hear such amazing information. And yes, we will all be rewatching many parts. And also this is really great because it speaks to broader worker struggles and broader migrant struggles that are happening across the globe, really, and especially in the UK, where we also have a lot of racist state violence against migrant workers here. So it's really great to hear about the struggles in India and be able to connect them back here as well. And yes, we hope to stay in contact. Please do share any things that are happening. We'll share them through ILS and through our networks as well. And yes, thank you everyone for coming and joining.
Thank you. Aisha had to leave for work, so she had to move. She left 10-15 minutes back. Yeah.
Please do pass her our thanks.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.